Hey one, hey all, welcome back to the channel, or to the channel if you're joining us for the first time. And I am absolutely elated that you're here, because I am exceedingly excited to take a look at something today that I didn't think I would ever get to actually have in my hands. I'm also excited because this is the first time that I've made a purchase of a Japanese import and a Takara Tomy product. So since I've never kind of jumped on that bandwagon before, what would make me do so this time? Well, I think if you're going to kind of make that leap, there's no better place to start than with this. It is the Transformers Legends LG-42 Godbomber. And he's going to be our focus in the latest GotBot True review. Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. As always, please like, comment, share, and so very important now, please hit that subscribe button, stick around, have some fun with us, join the conversation, have your say. Check out Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, me, everywhere. Spend some time on the channel, take a look around at some of the countdowns, reviews, and stop motions, and see what it is that catches your interest. Okay, so I didn't anticipate getting this. I really didn't. I've never been one to pay a extra cost, I suppose you could say, for added paint apps. It's never been worth it to me, though I understand that there are those out there who, incessantly do that, and if that works for your collecting habits, then great, good for you. I am happy for you. Everybody has their tastes, and that's fair. I see the argument for doing it, I just haven't bothered. I've handled a few products from Takara Tomy, and I've never actually been that impressed with them. I've always found them to be rather flimsy and not well made. I don't know if I've just had bad luck or what, because a lot of people kind of swear by the quality of them, not just the paint, but the quality of them. I haven't found them to be particularly good. So I never really was motivated to kind of dip my toe into that collecting pool. But when we got the Transformers Titans Return Power Master Optimus Prime, and he was kind of redone with some altered pieces in the Transformers Legends line, I said, well, that's kind of cool, and everybody sort of expected that he was going to get Godbomber to add on to him, or sometimes he's known as Apex Bomber, or sometimes he's known as Apex Armor. And of course, this came out, that happened, and a lot of people were disappointed that he couldn't join with the Power Master Optimus Prime. And then we got the Siege on Cybertron set, which I did take a look at some time ago. In that, we got Magnus Prime, which is basically the North American release of that Ginrai figure. And I say both names there because it depends on your pronunciation. I managed to, it's really strange. I have Power Master Optimus Prime. I was kind of given a second one, and then I managed to get the Magnus Prime for an unbelievable price of about 25 bucks. And then I managed to find this guy. Now, I'm going to say this, I got him for about $70 shipped Canadian. He came very, very fast. I got him off of eBay from Japan ET Asterisk Store. Shout out to them, it was fantastic customer service. And like I said, this guy showed up really quickly. I totally appreciate that. And he was packaged nicely. I couldn't be happy with how it turned out. But is the figure itself actually good or bad? Well, we're going to find that out. Though I'll say this, if I saw this beautiful box on a shelf in a store, I don't think I could pass it by. I mean, it's got so many bright colors and shapes. I like bright colors and shapes. It looks fantastic, and we'll take a closer look at this thing shortly. Anyway, I would say that my thought process kind of going into my look at this guy is that we're on a bit of an uphill battle, because I've never gotten a Takara figure myself, and because I think it's a little bit of an uphill battle since my experience with them hasn't been particularly fantastic. it'll be interesting to see how my first foray into the import market works out. So let's stop jibber jabbering here, head over to the table and take a closer look at this guy. Okay, so here we have everything in all of its glory. We have the figure, the box, all of the accessories that come with it. Before we go on, a few shoutouts that I want to do to Abominus Will Rule, Nathan Davis, Stephen Wells, Silver Zay Reviews, Kimru Nerd Cave, Mr. Hunter, the great Mr. Deluxe Baldwin, Shechem Stevens, the Superior Superion 247, Game Pro Delta, Steve Evans, Eric Zubkus, TF Fan Geek, and another friend of the channel, Master Far, because a little while ago he offered me the opportunity to take a look at the Legend EX version, which is the set that came completely together with Legends Ginrai and Godbomber. What's silver on this guy is chrome on that guy, and of course that package comes with the Titan Masters Minerva and Cab. It retails typically for about $164.99 American. So by the time you put on things like exchange rate and taxes and shipping and all of that stuff, you're looking at a substantial cost in Canadian dollars. I got this guy along with Magnus Prime for a grand total of about $100 shipped. And I need to kind of grade it based on that value because I was lucky enough to get it for that cost. And I'm very thankful that I was. Let's take a minute and look at the box and the accessories first, and then we'll get into this guy who I plan to be kind of meticulous with because he's a robot, he's a vehicle, he's armor, and in fact, even in terms of being armor, there are really two modes that you can use for him, where the wings are up high, that's the stock, and I'll show you an alternate configuration to do where the wings are lower and come up behind his shoulders. And indeed, here we have a box, and it's a box. Transformers Legends. I assume this is how it's written in Japanese. That's what I've always sort of seen. Over here we have an image of the figure. On the side over here you can see that they show kind of where the Titan Master goes and kind of where it can configure into certain aspects of the vehicle mode. On the back we have the fantastic and absolutely gorgeous product shots with the kind of image here in the background, and then we see all three modes. We even see how he combines. I assume that this is a bio. I don't know. I can't read Japanese. I kind of wish I could though. That'd be great. I'd love to know what that's saying. And over here, some more fantastic artwork. I know it's only a box, but I'm going to give credit where credit is due. It looks phenomenal. And of course we have his instruction manual. In it we have, of course, the Legends comic. I mean, I can't read any of it, but you do see an evil version of this guy with, I believe, Nightbeat's head and the Thrust and Trick Diamond, I think, that come with a couple of the Unite Warrior sets. It's, you know, it's interesting. I guess it's an interesting comic. If you can read Japanese, all the better. Of course, when you open this thing up, you get all of the huge instructions inside, and there are a lot of them, and some of them are all right, some of them are not that great to follow. And then on the back, of course, you have a bio that I can't read, and you have stats. Now, what's really interesting about these stats, you know what, I'm going to bring the stats in closer so that I can kind of talk about this with you able to see it sensibly. Okay, so we have stats here, and most of them, I guess, are fine. I mean, strength and fire blast, I guess skill. But look at intelligence. His intelligence is like a 6. Is it just me? Maybe I don't understand how he is personified in Legends, but my understanding is that this guy doesn't have a spark. He's, If you believe in the Japanese fiction, he's animated by, what's it called, Choken Power? I think that's how you pronounce it, from Headmasters. And even if you believe in the, I guess, North American version when he's Apex, he's really controlled by Optimus. It's been well noted for years that Optimus's main body, his trailer, and roller are all technically part of Optimus and sort of work in unison. Well, so does this guy, because technically he's a part of Optimus. In Japan, technically he's a part of Ginrai and really sort of responds to what Ginrai needs. So I'm not sure why the intelligence is a 6. You would think if it's sort of a lifeless drone that it wouldn't really have intelligence. But hey, what do I know? And then we get into the accessories, the first of which is this sword hilt. You'll notice that there's a rectangular slot there. That's where your blade for this thing is able to fit in. When it is combined, it is supposed to be reminiscent of the sword used by God Ginrai in the Headmaster series, from what I understand. But and I wondered, why does this come apart? But there's a reason for that, and we'll get into it later. Putting it together is pretty simple. You have a little rectangular peg right there that goes into the slot like that, and this is what you end up with. It looks great. This is also chromed in the EX version. It doesn't fit in Ginrai's hands that great. It's pretty loose, but it does fit in Godbomber's hands pretty fantastic, and it looks phenomenal. Mine might be slightly bent. I'm not sure. But it looks great and I'm happy with it. Then we have this odd little piece. And I was wondering why this was left kind of apart, because it really should sort of go with the cannon. And then I noticed this little opening at the end. We'll get into this again a little bit later, but it looks great. It's painted silver. This is also probably chromed in the EX version. And next up we have the little Titan Master that forms the head of Godbomber. I don't think he has a name. There's a bit of black paint on the thighs, red on the eyes. The head is on a ball joint. The arms are on little ball joints. He can get in a seated position. He is pinned at the hips. It's your typical Titan Master. And of course he can transform into a head. And this is how he looks as the head of Godbomber. It's pretty good. I like it. It looks pretty sweet. Kind of big eyes though. Again, this thing's maybe a 2. I mean, it's a Titan Master. It is what it is. The other accessory is the helmet. And I'll kind of show that now, because you just slide the helmet down over and there you go, the complete head of Godbomber. And the final accessory is this shoulder cannon, also known as the God Cannon. It's cast in black with some silver paint up around the top. It looks nice, and a little bit of red paint. I think that looks really cool. You can see an opening there. We'll use that in just a little bit. There is a red connector down here. It's all right. It doesn't really allow the cannon to angle up that much. You can sort of get it certain times, depending on where it is positioned, but it's not the best in terms of stability. And that little connector down here is just held on with friction. By the way, I will note it now, though we'll see it again later. This can open up and you can put a Titan Master in here. So reaching around and taking him, there you go, like that. And now we have all of these accessory pieces here again. We're going to kind of deal with this part now because once we get this together, we can sort of lay it aside and deal with the figure and use this when we need it. So, to kind of start off, you will take the hilt and the sword blade apart. Then you take this little silver piece, and at the end of the hilt there's a little round peg, 3mm maybe, and you put that on like that. And when we take the shoulder cannon, you'll notice there's a little cutout way up right here. Well, the idea is that the hilt slides up into that, which brings this silver piece out front. I think that that looks very nice. Then we have the blade. That can slide in, I do it through the back, and it slides in under the shoulder piece and under this little black section here. And then finally we take the helmet. And the helmet has a little kind of divot on the back of it. And that little divot goes over a little start sticking out right here. And right now there is the cannon all put together. Let's see this slightly closer. It looks nice, it looks cohesive. I dig this look, and this is the way that it will be really for vehicle mode. And speaking of his vehicle mode, here it is, looking as ridiculous as ever. I mean, come on, this isn't really, you're not going to see this on the road. This is not a robot in disguise, but it is completely accurate to the animation. The animation looked as peculiar as this as well. You know, here's kind of the front-on view, because apparently that's a cab of this vehicle. Again, the side-on view. Now, this thing is loaded with paint. I believe that these whole wing sections here are molded in blue plastic and have been painted over red. And there's a white stripe back here as well. We have the yellow paint on here. I don't know if that's blue paint or just a lighter blue plastic. Down here, you can see the difference between gray plastic on the little flap up front. All of this, I think, is blue plastic with a gray in between the two blue lines, and the rest of it is gray. There's a slight color variation between the gray plastic and the gray paint, but it matches pretty good. On the back, we have tail lights that are painted in. You don't see that every day, so I appreciate it. Again, on the EX version, if I'm not mistaken, this whole silver front section, all of this is painted silver. That is chrome, and I believe the windows in the front section are a little more clear than they are here. So there are like some slight differences. This whole front section can fold down. It's pretty tight to do it. It folds down, and when you fold it down, you have spaces in here, of course, for 3 Titan Masters. And we can just take this guy, and I don't know, we'll place him in the front here. Oh, by the way, you'll notice the little divot down bottom of each seat. That's for the little plastic piece on the heels of the Titan Master to go into. And of course, then you can close this back up over. Although I don't find that's the easiest thing to open or close. It's tight though. Moving on, we do have a position for the cannon. Now, I want to point this out right from the get-go. These arm panels here, as is well documented now, are removable. In this mode, we have a couple of teeth out front here, and there's another bigger tooth in behind, so they sort of wedge down over this little flap. And on the inside of the arm, though you're not really going to be able to see it, there's another little tab that goes into a little rectangular slot on the inside there. So it does tab from both sides and should be fairly secure when you do it correctly. That being said, we have little divots on the side of this red piece of the cannon, and those little divots go down over a couple of little blue pegs, I suppose we'll call them, on the arms. You will see it. It doesn't hold super secure, but it will hold good enough. You take this, you slide it down over, and I don't think I have it slid down over. Sorry, I was fiddling with it, and it was just easier to take it off screen so I could look down kind of between the two arm sections so I could see the divots to put that down over it. It can angle up here. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. The thing rolls great. It holds together pretty great in this configuration. Then we have down bottom here a little red start, and that turns outward. This little red start is what allows it to go combined with either Ginrai or with the Magnus Prime that came in the Chaos on Velocitron? No, the Siege on Cybertron set. Sorry about that. And if you're interested in seeing more about Magnus Prime, I looked at the entire Siege on Cybertron set back in episode 304. And of course, here he is next to, this is the Magnus Prime version, Magnus Prime version, but you get the idea. They look pretty great together. I'm going to show how this guy connects, because everything I've seen is people just saying, hey, you push this in, and it's a little bit more to it than that. Not really much more, but just good to know kind of what you're dealing with. I really hope you can see this. In between the 2 feet pieces, there's a little rectangular slot right there, and there's one on each side. The little red piece really sandwiches in between those. And you'll notice the little red tab here. Now, sometimes I find I can just push the 2 pieces together and they actually will sandwich. Other times I feel like I have to split the back legs apart, or the back feet apart, I guess, and then actually sandwich them around the little red connector. Hopefully, things will cooperate here and I'll just be able to push it in place and it will hold. So, unfortunately, I was not able to just push it in and have it hold. You see, that red connector is connected to a black bumper piece, and sometimes when you try to slot it in place by simply pushing it in, that bumper likes to move. Of course, once it's in, this is what we have. It rolls fantastic. I'm going to back things up so we can see the whole thing combined. And I defy anyone to tell me that this doesn't look cool. I think this looks great. It would be nice if the white stripe here was thicker or the gray stripe over there was thinner. I find that to be a strange mismatch, but other than that, the thing looks great and works quite well. It's fun. It's just plain good old-fashioned plastic robot fun. So I haven't given any scores for anything yet. I'm holding off. We will get to it, don't worry. Naturally, you know, we'll talk about the paint apps, the posability, playability, and the transformation, but there's so much to go through here that we'll deal with that a bit later. Speaking of the transformation, we're going to pop into that next. We're going to do the base mode first. So we're going to actually take this piece off for now and just deal with it quickly. The helmet comes off and goes turned around and pegged on again. So now it's facing up this way, and we just open the cannon up, and we're just going to lay this aside for now. And we'll see that again in just a little bit. So what do we do here with all of this? Well, this is one of those times where the guy is naturally a parts former, but I think it's acceptable because it's sort of like with Omega Supreme. Because of the alt mode and the configuration of that, it kind of has to be. Because this guy is also armor, he needs to be able to come apart. So that's fine. I am okay with that. We will begin by bringing down the wings on the sides, and hopefully we will get to keep the arms on. Next we want to, I guess, sort of untab the front here. And untab the front. So we're untabbing the front from behind a little gray section here, and we need to get it out from the notch and groove teeth from this arm piece. And we can bring those back for now. We will begin to bring the feet down on the back, as well as the little heels. By the way, there are notches back here. The outer blue edge of the foot fits into this notch in vehicle mode, and the outer blue edge of this foot fits up into that gray notch. So now that we have those down, we begin to bend the legs down. At this point, you want to split the legs and remove them. These are on up right here via a Combiner Wars connection port. So we take one off of that side, and we take one off of that side. And now we're left with that looking rather sad and drab. That's because we have to do something with the leg sections in order to be able to have the base mode come together. So we're going to take this out of it and look at the leg sections next. Okay, thankfully these are easy to deal with. You take the entire foot and put it down like that. You take the combiner port and bring it up on the back, and you pop that little piece down. You will notice that we have a little indent up right here, and I guess it's kind of a little indent over right here. That's what the wing pieces will peg into. So we have that one, and we have that one. No problem. This is how they look, and the wing pieces will go attached to them. Speaking of the wing pieces, I said that this is how the legs attach, and you'll notice you have a little section here that are 2 notches and the same out here. That's how these affix to the legs, and once it's done, it's quite solid. Case in point, I can pick him up and he's solid. I don't have any issue with any of that. Here we fold the little, I guess, trailer section piece in, and we open up the front. Again, if you can do it, it's not, on mine anyway, it's not the easiest thing to open. We open that down, and I think it looks great. And last but not least, we take the cannon section again, and put it back into position. And there it is, a little bit more in frame for you. Of course, you can put a Titan Master up here. You can put a Titan Master over here in this foot section. Same on the other side. You can put Titan Masters in the 3 of those. I think there's even some pegs that you could stand them on. This particular base works really well with Titan Masters. And here are the 2 bases next to each other. That, of course, being Godbomber and Magnus Prime, or Ginrai, whatever you prefer. Personally, however, I like to configure them so that they sort of seem like one base. Kind of. I like to have them look something like that. Boy, you know, I really want to do one of those ultimate base modes with Fort Max and Metroplex and these 2 guys and Blaster and whoever else I can rummage together. But more and more I feel like things are building to that, and maybe we'll get to it eventually, but not today. I like that. That works for me. I think it looks great. Whatever configuration you find that works for you, hey, have fun with it. So let's sort of recap things and where we're to so far. The accessories are pretty great for the most part. I'm a fan of them, and they incorporate nicely. We've done 2 modes so far, and every accessory has been used. Nothing's been left out or left over with nowhere to go. As a vehicle, he looks strange, but it works, and mine is solid. I can't speak for anybody else's. As a base, again, if you dig these leader class figures being bases, he works just fine, and again is quite solid. So I'm going to take this cannon off. Parts of it are going to come apart when we put him in robot mode, which we're going to jump into right now without any further ado. So before I said the wings were connected. Oh, and I'll take him out of it as well for now, because we don't really, once he's in there, the little guy likes to stay in there once he's there. I said before that the wings are connected really by 2 clip pieces, and all you need to do at this point is unclip, and they clip in securely. Unclip. And we can take those out and we're just left with the kind of, you know, basic body, I suppose we'll say. The leg parts, we can get those ready to go. You just flip the foot all the way over, turn it around, put that little flap down, and straighten up the leg port for when we're ready to use it, and we can take that leg out of it. Again, with this one over here, we just flip this back all the way. By the way, that blue section becomes the heel. The blue is the inner part of the leg, the gray is the outer part. We put this up, put that little flap down, straighten up the leg. And by the way, that's the knee, and what a nice clicky ratchet for that knee, because this is a combiner joint. And yes, any Combiner Wars figure or Power of the Primes figure that has a combiner port could work as his legs as well. Taking that out of the way until we're ready to use it. So we're left with this basic body. Well, we close this section back up. Now comes the little bit of a tricky part. The arms come off next, and this is what's probably going to happen. You're going to have really the forearm come off. And listen to this ratchet as I pick it up. It is a strong ratchet. You lift the arm up and you flip it out to the side for now. I'm even going to leave that arm piece off just because it's probably going to fall off anyway, and it's a bit of a nuisance to put on if it does. We'll see if this one stays on. Bring it up and bring it out. We're doing all right so far. This whole section here, this whole cab section, is connected by a little blue, I guess, arm up here, a longer blue arm, and then a red arm back here. There's a hinge here and a hinge up here. You need to bring this all the way up. Get these out of the way even more. All the way up. And before you tab it in, we have to reach underneath and pull out really what's going to be his neck piece. A lot of people bring it up through the front of the cab. That doesn't really work with mine. I think there's a little tolerance issue there, but that's what most people do. There, we bring that up. And we're going to bring this up on these two hinges so that it can meet what's going to be the front of the body. All of this is going to become the front of the body. So we bring that up and we angle it in. What you're going to basically have, the configuration that you're looking to have, is to have this little red hinge down here bent so that the long blue arm is going, can I get this out of the way even more? So that the long blue arm is going straight up, it's going to poke up a little bit, and then the other blue hinge is going to bend down. And that's how you want the body oriented. Take these blue pieces, bring it down, bring it down. This naturally will be his legs, and as such you can even take these now and put them on. Remember, the gray goes to the outside. So we put that leg in, and put that leg in just like we would with any Combiner Wars figure. And now we have him standing like a champ, but of course he's out of frame, so we're going to kind of adjust things slightly here and continue. And right now he sort of looks like a mess. So we come to the side, and what we have is a little gray start right here, rectangular tab, and on this red piece here there's a little slot, and that will slot over the rectangular tab to lock it in place, and we do that on both sides to lock the arms into position. We take the wing piece and rotate it to the back. We take this wing piece and rotate it to the back as well. Then we want to, and I find it's best if you hold on to the front and back of this, we want to angle that arm down, and up and underneath here we have the hand section, which hopefully we can get out. You might need something to pry it out with. like the sword blade, maybe. There we go. And we bring that little flap down. And then we can just take the arm and put it down to his side. No problem. Of course, this one over here came apart, which is okay because it lets me show you kind of how these pieces attach. And here we have the forearm piece. We have a little circular peg up right there. And we have a little rectangular slot here, kind of below another rectangular section. This goes into a rounded part on the arm, and this little rectangular spot goes over a peg on the back of the arm. And just so we know exactly what we are dealing with, here's the circular section that I talked about. And if you actually turn the arm around, there's the rectangular peg that I was talking about. I find it's easier if you slot the circular section in first, and then fold. Oh, I should mention this as well before I do that. We have a double hinge here. For making the arm, you want to bend at the hinge that's lower. So around like that. Put that in. Fold that around. Bring the arm down and put that little flap in. And now we are almost done with the robot mode. The only thing really left to do is to take the Titan Master head and of course put it into head mode, and there's a connector slot up here. You put the head in there and you put the helmet down over. Of course, the very last thing that you want to do is make sure he has his cannon on either side. We have holes up here and up here, so you can put it on either side, but I believe it's supposed to go on this side if I'm not mistaken. And in the end, boom, there you have Godbomber in his robot mode. Here he is with, oh, and I have a foot there not exactly correct. There he is next to Magnus Prime, or Ginrai if you will. I mean, they, you know, again, they're about the same size as you would expect. They're both leader class figures. Here he is next to, just because it kind of fits here, we'll move this guy over ever so slightly. But here he is next to the Titans Return Overlord. And again, I think that looks good. I mean, he's a nice, big, bulky leader class figure. There's no denying that. Okay, so articulation. Look, in base mode he doesn't need much articulation. It is what it is. In vehicle mode, he rolls fine. He's a vehicle. What do you want? In robot mode, well, we have a head that can go left and right. It doesn't really look up or down. I mean, it wiggles, but nothing major. We have legs that, assuming you pick up this, I didn't mention this by the way, you put the bumper down flat, or some people leave it up like that. Obviously, if you leave it up, you can get more articulation back on the leg. He can go forward at the leg on heavy ratchets. He has 90 degrees at the knee. We have a swivel really at the knee. I guess it's supposed to serve as a thigh swivel. Out to the side, not much. That's about as far as I can get out to the side. The tires on his hips sort of get in the way, and I don't really see a way to get them out of the way. I guess you could sort of angle the back and then get out to the side. Like you're kind of starting to untransform him a bit, So you can do that if you really want to get that lateral movement, but that's just on a pin, so if you let it go, it's not really going to hold itself up. Then we come to the arms. Make sure I have these shoulders pegged back on, where I started to untransform him a bit there. Then we come to the arms, and the arms are a little bit unfortunate in my estimation. First, the arms can go all the way around. And yes, you will notice that the wing just moved with it. You can hold on to the wing and still move the arm all the way around, because the wing is actually an independent piece. But if you don't hold on to it, it's definitely going to move with that shoulder. We have an elbow to 90 degrees. We have a strong ratchet out and down. We have a bicep swivel. And we have a thumb that can move out to the side. By the way, when you put his hands back up, make sure the thumb is in by the palm. We have fingers that articulate. They're at a base pin knuckle. And that's about it there. The unfortunate part is that the arm is extremely hollow. Now, you can get an upgrade kit to fill this in. I don't know how much it helps. I can also tell you that the forearm does like to pop off. Even though it has those two connecting sections, it does like to pop off. So you want to be sort of delicate moving the arms on this guy, or so I find. The cannon, I guess you can move that out. Can you bring it up? Not, yes, but it's not going to stay up. I don't think that's a big deal here though, because I don't think it was up on the animation. He looks great. He has a wide range of articulation, and you can score some pretty decent poses. By the way, I didn't mention this, but the toes do tilt forward. The heel does tilt forward. Oh, and there are ankle tilts. I forgot about that. There are nice deep ankle tilts. So the guy, like, he stands really well. I respect that. I think that looks great. It's just, I wish the wings didn't move with the shoulders. That's a bit annoying. They also stick way out on the back, and there's not really anything you can do about it. I suppose if you wanted, you could angle them more down like this. You know, you could do something like that. There's no waist articulation, but that's sort of understandable for everything that this guy has to do. I think the wings being out is also animation accurate, so I tend to just leave them out. If you were so inclined as well, you could angle them out like that. So there's options for the wings. Yes, it's a bit of an obtrusive backpack, but like, it doesn't have to be, depending on what you do with it. My biggest gripe is the way the forearms don't connect well, especially with the shoulder being ratcheted. If the shoulder was just friction, I don't think we'd have the kind of forearm issues that we do. But, you know, what do I know? That's just my assertion. So this is him in robot mode. It is alright, but certainly not perfect. I respect it though for everything it has to do. I will say this, if you don't like a parts former, then this guy's not for you. He's just not, because his torso, his arms and his legs and his cannon and his head and his helmet are all different parts, necessarily so. And then that brings us to his final mode, which kind of has two forms. The stock configuration and then the other configuration. And that's him as armor. And all of these things have names when they're armor. For example, the wings are called the God wings. The legs, or sorry, the arms next, and we'll take those off. That's the God punch. And we remove the other one as well. The wings, by the way, stay on him. They don't come off. The cannon is the God cannon. And the helmet this time comes off, and you don't attach it. This time you don't attach it to the cannon at all. We'll take off the Titan Master. And we will remove the legs because they're the God legs, apparently. And this is what we're left with in the end. In essence, we're left with the God wings and this piece, which is known as the God breast. There's a whole lot of strange names on things here, but what do you expect? So, we're going to start from the bottom and work our way up, and eventually end up with the combined mode of this guy and this guy. Of course, this is the Magnus Prime version, but come on, we all know that it's, in essence, Super Ginrai, or Super Ginrai, if you will. And we begin by removing this shoulder piece and this shoulder piece. We'll also take this out of his hand and this out of his hand so that we're really just left with the base robot. Now, we're going to start from the bottom like I said and work our way up. So, what do we have to do here? We take one of the legs of the armor unit, we bring really the toe up and the heel spur down. That's going to make the toe for the robot mode of the larger form. We take this piece and we just bring it up straight like that. We have wheels on the outside and they need to kind of match up with the wheels here. It's interesting how it goes. We have a connection port in right here, which is kind of like a Combiner Wars port, but not really, if that makes sense to you. We have another little red start out here. That's going to go over the kind of edge section, and then we're going to push the whole thing up, and there's another little red start in here. This whole red piece is what's needed. Down here underneath, we fold up his red heel spur. And this main red section is going to go up in here. This little tab on the side that I pointed out is going to go in over right here. And this other red section is going to kind of wrap up around the blue. Sadly, some versions of the Magnus Prime do not have the connection ports. Check yours to be sure. I find it's easiest if we start by putting this edge over the blue section here first, and then sort of wedging the rest of the foot down. And once you have one piece in, it looks like that. The next piece is the exact same thing. We bring it forward like that, and bring this piece up, and then we put up the heel spur. And we do that. He's getting tall. By the way, at this point I want to point out something that a lot of people complain about. They say the ankles are weak and he tends to fall back because of his weight. Probably, and there is an add-on kit for it, but truth is, if you just sort of angle the ankles back just a little bit and the toes forward ever so slightly, and my tabs are all coming loose there. That's one thing about Magnus Prime, is the way the legs wrap around isn't the most secure on him. But he stands fine. I don't know why people complain about it. The guy stands fine. You just have to orient the angle, or I guess the ankles, correctly. The tires on the side should look like this, if that's of any help to you. If you want a little added, I guess, stability, angle in the combiner ports. But I can pretty much assure you that the guy is really quite solid. Okay, so next we have the arms. And what do we do with the arms? Well, we're going to turn this guy's side on and we're going to bring this piece down. We're also going to extend the arm because we need to do that next. In fact, I'm going to turn it here a little bit. Actually, in a second I'm going to turn it. We have a rounded circular hole there in his arm. And we have this piece on the side that is hollow on the back. Both of which are important to note. If you take an arm piece and you start with it out flat, that rounded peg that I mentioned earlier will go into the slot on the front of his arm. And of course that doesn't really look right because it's not folded back. Once you have that slotted in, you need to fold it back. But this time, instead of folding it on the, I guess the hinge on the inside, of that double hinged piece, you need to fold it on the hinge on the outside. It makes all the difference in the world. Once you fold that, you can just press it in, fold that little piece around the back, bring the truck section up over, and there's an arm on and done. It holds pretty solidly. Then we come to the other side here, and we're going to do the same thing. You need to extend this arm. Then you put this piece in the front, wrap it around the side and around the back. Fold that little tab in there, fold that truck piece up over, and now we have this much of him done. Naturally, he's out of frame, but that's okay because we're still dealing with kind of the lower body at this point. We need to take what were his shoulder cannons, and they go on the feet on that side and go on the foot over here in that port. And we have him about as ready as he can be without having his body armor on. And we're going to deal with the two parts that go with that next. We're going to take him out of it, and we're going to bring in, actually first, the cannon piece. And here we have the cannon piece. Why am I bringing this in? Because we need to slot that out. I do wonder about paint rub on that silver over time. And we need to slot the hilt out. We're going to take this silver sprocket piece and put it back up. And there's the shoulder cannon done once again. And again we have the hilt, and we take the sword piece and put it in. Fantastic! And now comes the hard part. I know, up until now it's been easy. It really has. And if you're thinking, no, this hasn't been easy, trust me, it has. Because really the legs either just slide in here or they just snap on over the feet of Ginrai. The only thing you have to remember to do is to put up that heel spur. The arms just either tab in here and back here, well, here and here, where I have my thumb and my finger. And there's really no more to it than that. How well they stay on, that's another story. Same with putting them on Ginrai. As long as you remember to extend his arm sections, they're not difficult to put on. But this is a bit of a beast because of the way things move and because it all sort of just flails around. So I'll do the best I can because I'm trying to really sort of be detail oriented. I really sort of struggled, I suppose, to figure things out, and the directions aren't great at this part as far as I'm concerned. Maybe you think differently. So perhaps the best thing to do is to start from this side first, and really you want to untab the wings, and extend the body out all the way. Put that section down and extend them straight. You're going to want them straight. This is how you orient yourself with this guy. By the way, when you go to attach him, you have a little hook down here on the red, and this section here has a rectangular slot in it. That's going to go down over a section of Ginrai and peg it in, and that's the biggest securing point with this guy. Not to say that there aren't others, but that's really the biggest securing point with this guy. So you want these sections straight, and the front is done. That's all you need for the front. If you want to put the Titan Master back in, just so he's not in the way, I guess you could. I'll do it just for the sake of doing it. We open that up. We again put him in. I'll put him in the center seat. You can put him in either one you want. Tab him in there. Those arms down. Close that section up. There. Now he's in out of the way, and I suppose incorporated. We really need to deal with the back, and to deal with the back here is a bit of a chore. The very first thing that you want to do is split the body. And this is why this guy is a chore, because now you split the body and you have the two shoulder armatures now that are free-flowing from each other. That is a bit of a nuisance in my estimation. But that's what we have. Next, you want to use, actually everything you do. Let's see if I can show this. Is it on the top maybe? Yeah, there's this great big pin right there. Everything rotates around that pin any way that you do this guy. Okay, so I have one side done, just so you can see. This is where we start from, and this is what we're going to end up with for the stock transformation. So how do we get to this? Well, it's easier said than done. I'm not going to pretend that it's fun, because it's not. So we begin by bending the body piece out. It's going to be out to the side. Next, we want to take the entire wing section and fold it all the way in. So we open the body out to the side, we folded the entire shoulder section in. Next, we bring the arm down, we bring that up, we turn it at the bicep swivel. And you can see the way the two arms are here now. Then we take the wing and we fold it forward again and fold it around. We straighten everything up. We take the leg and we fold the leg up. Then the two arm sections, I don't quite have that one down. The two arm sections, they will loosely peg together. And what you end up with in the end is something that looks like this, with the wings well up. I'm going to put it on Magnus Prime, Optimus there now, or Ginrai, whatever, the other bigger robot, as just so you can see how it looks. But then I'm going to show you how to do the alternate configuration, the one that I use. And in essence, this is what you have. Now it's not attached, but you get the idea with the wings up high, and it looks great. Stands like a champion, assuming you have those ankles back. I don't have a problem with this. You may have noticed that there was this strange circular peg on the shoulder of Godbomber. Well, that's because you have these black blasters that are with either Magnus Prime or Ginrai, and on the inside there's a rounded hole, and they can go on, though I already have one on, they can go on over his shoulders and look like that. And you could even take the cannon and put it up on his shoulder in one of these holes that are in the long blue armature. And he looks like that, no problem. You can put the sword in his hand, and the little helmet section, well, if we come to the back, where the arms are attached to each other, or supposed to be attached to each other, and it slots up right here. There are a couple of little notches, and it goes into those quite nicely. He looks impressive. He does, even though I don't have that pegged in at the moment. The guy, there's no doubt that he looks fantastic. So why don't I have that pegged in? Because I'm going to show an alternate form that I think looks a little bit better, at least to me personally. Okay, so I admit it. That wasn't the most elegant way to show the combination between the stock formation for this guy and Ginrai, or Magnus Prime, whatever you want to call him. But that's because it's not the way I want the dude presented. No, I want those wings to be lower and come up behind his shoulders. And there is a fan mode that accomplishes that I've seen kicking around, so I'm going to show you how to do it. It's not that easy. It's kind of tricky, and it all revolves around that large pin that I showed earlier. Everything sort of revolves around that pin. So we take him and we turn him this way, and you can see that this is basically the stock formation. We're going to turn this side back into the robot basically by bringing the leg down, bringing the arm up, straightening out the wing piece, bringing that, there you go, opening out the shoulder, there you go. Bringing the body in, bringing the whole shoulder assembly kind of forward, rotating the wing all the way back, and keeping the arm down. That's basically robot mode again right there. So we're going to move from this and we're going to put him into the lower wing position. Like I said, it's not that easy because it all relies on this big pin up here and one other hinge. So we begin by bringing that out just as we kind of did before. And we bring this piece around as we did before. Now, when you're going to stock, this whole shoulder section goes into the body. That's not what you want to do this time. Now, bring the body out further, bring the shoulder down further. Bring the body out. Bring the body out further again, and bring the shoulder down even further. Turn this around and angle it out that way, and bring the whole shoulder assembly in here. Bring this up, angle the wing out, rotate the arm down, and rotate at the bicep. A lot of people will have the leg facing forward. I don't do that. I tend to just bring it down over the back. That's your call. That's your choice how you sort of want to handle that. But that's what I do. Then on the other side we need to do the same thing. Again. So we bring down the leg. We turn up. Oh, by the way, before I do that, I guess, I will just show you the difference in position. You can see right there, we have a major difference in position. You can see right there we have a major difference in position. So I'm going to show it from the other side again. By the way, before those kind of cannon pieces went on over a circular peg right here, this time they'll still go up here, but there is now a circular slot that was on his hip. That's what they're going to go into. So, how do we do this again? We bring the leg down as if we're going to robot mode. We turn the arm up. We angle back the wing. We turn the whole shoulder assembly out. We bring the body around, turn the shoulder assembly out, bring the body around, and turn the shoulder assembly out. So now it's well out to the side. And again, we have basically the robot done right here. Now we basically have the robot done right here. Okay, so we angle out the body, we bring in the shoulder. We angle out the body, we bring in the shoulder. We also rotate down. There's a hinge. See if I can show the hinge. This red hinge in between the two blue sections. You need to also rotate that down as you're doing this. Bring that down. Bring the body out. Bring that down. Bring the body out. Bring that around. And bring the body all the way out. Bring the shoulder piece in. For me, I rotate the leg down. I rotate the wing down, angle it forward, bring the arm down underneath, bend the elbow, and turn it. Like that. And now we have the wings at a lower orientation. Woo! Is that something to get to? Let's see how this looks on Ginrai. So I'm not usually one for close-ups, but I think it's warranted here. When we put this on, we're going to push the silver piece down over the front, of course, but the thing that really connects this the most is back right here. We have this blue tab and this blue tab. On these pieces we have this red section and this red section. They're going to go down over those blue tabs, and the little hooks underneath are going to basically hook under the lip right here. So we take this and we bring it down over. Then we hook that little lip on and we push that red section on. We hook the little lip on the other side. If we can. There. And we put that on. Then we take the whole silver section here, push it down over, and then we angle the silver piece down on these little hinges here. It is a lot. Whew. But in the end, we have him together. Now, before I show him in all of his glory, I just want to put the other couple of pieces on him that really need to go on him. Let me straighten him up here a little bit. Okay, so the black blasters that come with Magnus Prime or Ginrai, now you just use the handle and you put it in the rounded 5mm ports that were on his hips, were on Godbomber's hips. They go on like that. We can take his shoulder cannon piece, and it still goes in the blue 5mm tab or slot that's there. Which on mine is quite tight. Like that. The sword, we can put that in his hand, though it is quite loose. And you might be wondering now, hey, with this configuration, can you do anything with that helmet? You certainly can. If we come to his back here, we can take the helmet, and it's not the most, again, elegant of things right now, but the helmet can Here we go. I knew I was doing something wrong. The helmet can attach. We have a 5mm port on the back of the helmet, on the back of the head basically. And it can go right there. That 5mm port is what his forearm normally attaches to. So everything is still included here. Nothing is left off at all. And while he has a huge backpack, he stands nicely. He looks great. And his wings are down on his shoulders. Let's look at him in all of his glory. The absolutely amazing thing to me here is that he needs to be back at this distance in order to get everything on camera. And I will note now, the sword is pretty... First, it doesn't like to stay together, but you know, even if you move it by the hilt, like it rotates in his hand, no problem. It's very wibbly and loose. In terms of articulation, I will kind of cover that now too, and then we'll look at him closer. He really retains everything. The head can still go left and right. The arms can still go, you know, up and down. Probably not all the way around now because of the wings. They go out to the side just like they did before. And I just popped the panel out, but that's me. We have still a 90-degree elbow. We have a bicep swivel. We still have wrist swivel. This piece can go down. We don't really have a waist rotation, but I don't think he did before. So I don't feel bad about that. Getting this arm out to the side and this arm out to the side. He has ability to do pretty much the full splits. The legs, they can still go backward. They can come forward if you get the hip skirt out of the way. They can come, even get the chest up a bit of the way. They can come well forward. We still have a knee just as deep as it always was. We have ankle tilt. We have a toe that can bend up and back. There's not much that this guy can't do. And I think that's such an incredible testament to how he was engineered. Now the panels on my Magnus Prime are kind of loose. That's nothing to do with Godbomber. That's everything to do with Magnus Prime. Getting him set up here again. I angled back those ankles a little bit so that he could stand really quite fantastically well with the sword back in his hand. So now it's time to kind of give this guy a grade, and while I do that, we're going to take a closer look at him. So paint apps on Godbomber and on Ginrai, or God Ginrai if you will, they got to be like 10,000. This is fantastic. It looks absolutely amazing. It's ultra accurate. The argument could be made with Godbomber that perhaps the gray should be on the inside of his leg. But even if that's where your interest in the guy lays, you can always swap the legs to either side in robot mode. So still, it's a 10,000, 10 million. Articulation. It's all right. There's a lot here, a lot that's fiddly with the guy. I'm gonna give the articulation about an 8. I wish that the forearms were better than what they are on Godbomber. They like to fall off. In terms of here on God Ginrai, everything works quite well. He has pretty much everything you could want him to except for a waist, and I can forgive that for everything that this guy does right. Transformation. what can I say? The transformation is a bear, because the guy comes apart in so many pieces, and while it looks magnificent, it can be challenging to do, especially this basic connection right here, the whole kind of body piece. The legs are the easiest part to transform. The arms are acceptable, but that body piece, especially everything that has to do with this shoulder hinge and the wing hinge, is really challenging to know the orientation to put everything. Hopefully this way shows you the orientation you want stuff to be in order to do the fan mode, which I think perhaps gives this guy his absolute best look as God Ginrai. So the transformation, while challenging, is more art than toy. This isn't for kids. And while it's a bear, I would have to say it's also somewhat ingenious in the way that this was accomplished. For everything that the guy needs to do, I'm going to give it a 10 for ingenuity. I'm going to give it a 10 for everything it needs to do. For fun, it's like a 2. It's not a fun transformation at all, but the result is fantastic. Am I happy with my kind of first import buy? Well, naturally that depends on how you look at it. My overall score for this guy is about an 8. He's not perfect, but he's pretty great, and the result of this version of God Ginrai is undeniably accurate and imposing and impressive. Here he is next to truly his arch nemesis, that being Titan's Return Overlord, and they look great together. I absolutely dig it. Ginrai, or Godbomber, gets a score of about an 8. This Ginrai, as far as I'm concerned, is a 10. I don't see how you could make it more accurate. That being said, there are a couple of add-on kits that do give us the smaller cab robot, that do give us the little Power Master, I guess, version of Ginrai. And you know what? If you could score those and add it to this guy, I think you pretty much have the perfect incarnation of this character. And finally, here we are, back once again, and we have Godbomber and Ginrai together as God Ginrai in their most magnificent of forms. I know that this was a very different review. I know it was kind of long, but there was so much to cover with this guy. I mean, we had 4 modes really, because you have the vehicle, you have the robot, the base, and then the attached mode. And even with the attached mode, we had the official stock configuration and the fan mode. I don't know if I've ever found looking at a figure so daunting before. Am I glad that I picked him up? Am I happy with my first Japanese import? Well, as mentioned, yeah, I think I am, because the guy looks magnificent and he's still functional. I've heard of a lot of people complaining about looseness, and admittedly, in robot mode, these forearms are loose. They're not in combined mode. I don't find his ankles or feet really loose. You just need to push the ankles back a little bit. If you want to get the add-on, hey, that's up to you, but I don't really think it's necessary. Put the waist skirt down. I don't think I could ask for anything more other than perhaps the cab and the extra head and the little Power Master. But if I never get those, I would be very proud to showcase this guy as my version of God Ginrai. Do I think he's worth picking up? Certainly, especially if you can get him for a reasonable cost. I don't regret this guy, either one of them, for a minute. And if you have them, I hope that your experience has been nothing but fantastic. Anyway, let me know what you think about this guy, or the EX version that has the chrome on the front and a couple of other added chrome pieces like the sword. And of course those two Titan Masters, as I mentioned before. Do you like how this guy turned out? I know I do. Anyway, thanks for dropping by and giving me a whole bunch of your valuable time today. I know how important it is, and I know that this one in particular was a lot to ask. Believe me, it is beyond appreciated. Once again, I'm going to say please hit that subscribe button, stay informed, inform me if you know things that I don't. I always like to talk to you guys. Again, thanks for giving me your valuable time, and I very much look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit right here. Inside the videos.